Did you know that Betty White was never supposed to play Rose? Producers originally wanted her to play Blanche, the man-crazy Southern belle. A last-minute switch by director Jay Sandrich changed television history forever. We'll get to Betty's incredible story at the end of today's countdown. But first, before we count down, tell me honestly, who did you sit next to on the living room floor when that unforgettable theme song played? Mom? Dad? Grandma? Drop a quick comment below. I absolutely love reading your memories. At number 4, we start with a woman who pulled off one of the greatest magic tricks in television history. Estelle Getty played Sophia Petrillo, Dorothy's sharp-tongued, purse-clutching Sicilian mother. And here's the mind-blowing part. In real life, Estelle was actually 1 year younger than B. Arthur, who played her daughter. That's right, the mother was younger than the daughter. Every single week, a team of makeup artists spent hours aging Estelle with wigs, orthopedic shoes, and heavy prosthetics to transform a vibrant woman in her 60s into an 80-year-old Sicilian firecracker. Before the Golden Girls, Estelle spent over 4 decades working in theater, barely getting noticed. She finally had her breakthrough at nearly 60 years old, starring in Harvey Fierstein's Torch Song trilogy on Broadway in 1982. That role led directly to her being cast as Sophia. After the Golden Girls ended in 1992, Estelle appeared in the spin-off The Golden Palace alongside Rue McClanahan and Betty White. She later played Sylvester Stallone's mother in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and voiced Grandma Estelle in the original Stuart Little in 1999. Behind the scenes, Estelle was a tireless advocate. When her 29-year-old nephew Stephen was dying of AIDS, she personally arranged to have him flown to California and admitted to hospice care. She later helped establish a hospice in North Carolina called Beacon Place. Sadly, in her later years, Estelle was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. She retired from acting around 2000 and spent her final years at her home in Hollywood. Estelle Getty passed away on July 22, 2008, at the age of 84, just 3 days before what would have been her 85th birthday. Her co-star Betty White said at the time, "The only comfort is that although Estelle has moved on, Sophia will always be with us." At number 3, the one and only Blanche Devereaux. Rue McClanahan was born on February 21, 1934, in Healton, Oklahoma. Before she became America's favorite Southern belle, Rue had already built a rock-solid television career. She played Vivian Harmon alongside B. Arthur on Maude from 1972 to 1978. Then she played Aunt Fran on Mama's Family from 1983 to 1984, alongside Betty White. So when the Golden Girls came calling in 1985, Rue already had deep working relationships with 2 of her future co-stars. Here's a fun fact. Rue put a clause in her contract that allowed her to keep every single outfit Blanche wore on the show. Over 7 seasons, she took home roughly 500 outfits, enough to fill 11 full-sized walk-in closets. And she wore them in real life too. After the Golden Girls, Rue appeared in the spin-off The Golden Palace. She co-starred with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in the comedy Out to Sea in 1997, and that same year, she appeared in the sci-fi blockbuster Starship Troopers. In 2005, Rue made her Broadway debut in Wicked, playing Madame Morrible. Rue was also a passionate animal rights advocate and a lifelong vegetarian. She published her autobiography in 2007, titled My First 5 Husbands and the Ones Who Got Away. In November 2009, Rue underwent triple bypass surgery. While recovering, she suffered a minor stroke. Sadly, Rue McClanahan passed away on June 3, 2010, at the age of 76, from a brain hemorrhage at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Her close friend Betty White said simply, "She was a close and dear friend." Seeing Rue again brings back so many memories. Let me know down below, how many of you secretly had Blanche as your favorite Golden Girl? Don't be shy, confess in the comments. Now, you can't talk about the Golden Girls without talking about the man Dorothy could never fully get rid of. That's right, Zbornak is up next. But after that, get ready, because the woman behind Dorothy herself has a secret past that most fans never knew about. A past that involves the United States Marine Corps. Now, every great sitcom needs that one character who shows up uninvited and somehow steals the whole scene. On The Golden Girls, that character was Zbornak, Dorothy's lovable, infuriating, toupee-wearing ex-husband. Herb Edelman brought Stan to life across 26 episodes, and every single appearance was gold. That perpetual grin, that bad toupee, that ability to make Dorothy roll her eyes so hard you could hear it through the television. Before The Golden Girls, Herb had already built a solid career spanning 3 decades. He appeared alongside Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in the 1968 film version of The Odd Couple, playing Murray the cop. He had a recurring role on the medical drama St. Elsewhere from 1984 to 1988, and appeared in 10 episodes of Murder, She Wrote between 1984 and 1995. What many fans don't know is that before acting, Herb studied veterinary medicine at Cornell University, but dropped out after his first year. He also served in the U.S. Army as an announcer for Armed Forces Radio. He even worked as a hotel manager and a taxi driver before finally finding his way to the stage. Herb Edelman passed away on July 21, 1996, from emphysema. He was 62 years old. 26 episodes, 2 Emmy nominations, and one of the most perfectly cast recurring characters in sitcom history. Nobody else could have played Stan. Curiosity Bridge. Speaking of Dorothy, it's finally time to talk about the woman who gave her that legendary stare. A woman who drove trucks for the Marines in World War II before she ever set foot on a stage. A Tony winner, a 2-time Emmy winner, and when she decided to leave the Golden Girls after 7 seasons, the show simply could not go on without her. At number 2, the incomparable Bea Arthur. Born Bernice Frankel on May 13, 1922, in New York City, Bea Arthur was not your typical Hollywood star. Before she ever stepped onto a stage, she served her country. In February 1943, just 5 days after the Marine Corps began recruiting women, a 20-year-old Bernice Frankel enlisted in the United States Marine Corps Women's Reserve. She trained at Hunter College in the Bronx, attended motor transport school at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, and served as a truck driver and dispatcher at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. She was honorably discharged in September 1945 with the rank of Staff Sergeant. After the Marines, Bea studied acting at the Dramatic Workshop at the New School for Social Research in New York. She spent years building her craft on stage. In 1964, she originated the role of Yente the Matchmaker in Fiddler on the Roof. 2 years later, she won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for playing Vera Charles in the original Broadway production of Mame. Then came television. In 1971, Bea guest starred on All in the Family as Maude Findlay, Edith Bunker's outspoken cousin. The character was so popular that she got her own spin-off, Maude, which ran on CBS from 1972 to 1978. Bea won her first Emmy for that role in 1977. And then, in 1985, lightning struck again. The Golden Girls premiered on NBC on September 14, 1985. Bea played Dorothy Zbornak, a divorced substitute teacher with the sharpest tongue on television. That withering stare, that deep, unmistakable voice. Nobody could deliver a single look the way Bea Arthur could. After 7 seasons, Bea decided it was time to leave the Golden Girls in 1992. And when Dorothy walked out the door at the end of that series finale, the show simply could not continue without her. The remaining 3 actresses moved to a spin-off called The Golden Palace on CBS. But it lasted only 1 season. In the years that followed, Bea made memorable guest appearances on Malcolm in the Middle, earning an Emmy nomination, and appeared as Larry David's mother on Curb Your Enthusiasm. She voiced the Femputer on Futurama in an Emmy-nominated 2001 episode, and in 2002, she returned to Broadway with her one-woman show, Bea Arthur on Broadway, Just Between Friends, which earned her a Tony nomination. Throughout her life, Bea was a passionate supporter of animal rights. She was also a dedicated advocate for homeless LGBTQ youth. After her passing, her estate donated $300,000 to the Ali Forney Center in New York City. In 2017, an 18-bed residence for homeless LGBTQ youth opened in Manhattan, named the Bea Arthur Residence in her honor. Bea Arthur was married twice. Her first marriage was to fellow Marine Robert Allen Arthur, and she kept a variation of his surname as her stage name for the rest of her career. Her second marriage, to director and playwright Gene Saks, lasted from 1950 to 1978. Together they adopted 2 sons, Matthew and Daniel. Bea Arthur passed away on April 25, 2009, at her home in Los Angeles from cancer. She was 86 years old. When the news broke, her co-star Betty White said through tears, "I knew it would hurt. I just didn't know it would hurt this much." The Broadway community honored Bea by dimming the marquees of every theater in the district for 1 minute. Curiosity, bridge to the climax. We've reached the end of the countdown, and if you've been waiting for this one, you already know who it is. The woman who was on television before television was even a thing. The woman who made America fall in love all over again at 88 years old. The woman whose final chapter broke our hearts just 17 days before what would have been a milestone birthday no one wanted to miss. Rose Nylund herself is next. And here she is. Number 1, the one you've been waiting for. Betty White. Born on January 17, 1922, in Oak Park, Illinois, Betty Marion White didn't just have a career in television. She was television. Her career began before most American households even owned a TV set. In the late 1940s, she co-hosted a live variety show in Los Angeles, 5.5 hours of live television every single day. In the early 1950s, she created and produced the sitcom Life with Elizabeth, making her one of the first women to produce a television show in Hollywood history. She became known as the First Lady of game shows, appearing on Password, Match Game, and The Hollywood Squares. In 1983, she became the first woman ever to win a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Game Show Host. In 1973, Betty joined The Mary Tyler Moore Show as Sue Ann Nivens, the devious, flirtatious host of the station's Happy Homemaker show. She won 2 Emmy Awards for that role, in 1975 and 1976. And then came Rose Nylund, the sweet, innocent widow from the fictional town of St. Olaf, Minnesota. A character so lovable, so perfectly played, that Betty was nominated for an Emmy every single season The Golden Girls was on the air. She won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 1986 for the show's very first season. But Betty White was far from finished. In 2009, she co-starred with Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds in the hit romantic comedy The Proposal. Then in 2010, at the age of 88, something remarkable happened. After a hilarious Super Bowl commercial for Snickers, where she got tackled playing flag football in the mud, fans launched a Facebook campaign begging NBC to let Betty host Saturday Night Live. Nearly 500,000 people signed on. NBC said yes. On May 8, 2010, Betty White became the oldest person in history to host SNL. She was 88 years old. More than 12 million people watched. She won yet another Emmy for the performance. That same year, she was cast as Elka Ostrovsky on the TV Land sitcom Hot in Cleveland. She was only supposed to appear in the pilot episode, but her performance was so beloved that producers made her a series regular. The show ran for 6 seasons, 128 episodes, from 2010 to 2015. Throughout her entire life, Betty was a devoted animal lover. She worked with the Los Angeles Zoo, the Morris Animal Foundation, and countless wildlife organizations. In November 2010, the United States Forest Service made her an honorary forest ranger, fulfilling a childhood dream she'd carried since she was a little girl, back when women simply were not allowed to hold that job. Betty was married 3 times. Her third husband, game show host Alan Ludden, was the love of her life. They married in 1963 and were together until his passing in 1981. When asked years later why she never remarried, Betty simply said, "Once you've had the best, who needs the rest?" In 2018, PBS celebrated her legacy with the documentary Betty White, First Lady of Television. In 2019, she voiced a toy tiger named Bitey White in Pixar's Toy Story 4. The world just kept loving her more and more, year after year. On Christmas Day 2021, Betty suffered a stroke. 6 days later, on December 31, 2021, Betty White passed away peacefully in her sleep at her home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. She was 99 years old, just 17 days before what would have been her 100th birthday. Her agent, Jeff Whitjus, said it best. "Even though Betty was about to be 100, I thought she would live forever." So did we all. Leave 3 to 4 seconds of silence between each name. Before we go, we take a moment to honor the cast members who are no longer with us. Herb Edelman left us on July 21, 1996. He was 62. Estelle Getty left us on July 22, 2008. She was 84. B. Arthur left us on April 25, 2009. She was 86. Rue McClanahan left us on June 3, 2010. She was 76. And Betty White left us on December 31, 2021. She was 99. 4 women, 1 kitchen table, 1,000 Saturday nights, and enough cheesecake to last a lifetime. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Blanche. Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Stan. Thank you for being a friend. Because these moves so incredibly fast. But these beautiful memories stay with us forever. Which of these stories surprised you the most today? Was it Bee's secret life in the Marine Corps? Estelle being younger than her own on-screen daughter? Or Betty's incredible comeback at 88 years old? And if you could go back to the 80s or 90s for just one evening, to sit in your old living room on that familiar couch with your family gathered around the TV on a Saturday night, watching these 4 incredible women make you laugh until your sides hurt, what would you give to do it just one more time? Share your beautiful stories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this video brought back memories worth holding on to, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. We've got more then and now countdowns just like this one, covering the shows and the stars you grew up with. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being a friend.